What's up, Yard Freakos, and thanks for joining me on this video. So this is the first video of 2022, coming in a little later than I would like, but hey, I've been busy. So let's start the year off with going over my soil analysis and then getting into a discussion about fertilizer use and maybe why we as a community would want to cut it back this year given some geopolitical consequences. So let's get started. Okay, so let's go over what soil analysis test I used. So this is the My Life soil analysis that I got off of Amazon. And yeah, so you can get a kit, I think, for 20 bucks. I got two, one for the front yard and one in the backyard. So let's discuss the front yard first. So as you can see in the front yard here, I'm doing actually pretty well, I think, for the most part. The only deficiency I seem to have is a nitrogen deficiency, which I was kind of surprised by. So that's an interesting take from that. Now let's look at the backyard here. So as you can see in the backyard, which I am growing my buffalo grass in, the backyard, sorry about the dogs knocking the camera, the backyard is doing really well. I think it's because of the dogs that I don't have a nitrogen deficiency, because they're just, depositing their own there. So the only thing I'm lacking here is the micros, and specifically I think iron is probably the greatest one. So in both of these, my pH is a little high. I'll be working on that this year with elemental sulfur applications probably. So with that said, let's get into a fertilizer discussion and why I'm probably not going to be using as much as people I normally would in the year. So let's talk about fertilizer and geopolitical consequences in the world these days. So the thing is the world is in a fertilizer shortage, and a pretty big one at that. And before the Ukraine war started, we were already starting to have a nitrogen shortage, and it was more pandemic and high natural gas prices related. Because basically with nitrogen, I don't know if you guys know this, but back around 100 years ago, these two German scientists named Fritz Haber and I'm forgetting the guy's first name, but his last name is Bosch. They came up with a way to turn the nitrogen in the air into ammonia and using the Haber-Bosch process. And an interesting consequence of that is basically, on average, half of the nitrogen atoms in your body come from artificial sources. Basically, humanity would not exist at 9 billion people, or is it 8 billion these days? I can't remember. All I'm saying is that we would not have the amount of people on this world today without the Haber-Bosch process. I doubt we would have even been able to break 5 billion people, because you can turn that ammonia into fertilizer. And what's one thing that plants need the most? It's nitrogen, right? So this year we are already running into a nitrogen shortage, like I said, because of natural gas prices, and it was pandemic related too for a little bit when it comes to supply chains. And then the Russians decided to throw a war. And the problem with that is that, the next thing plants need after nitrogen is phosphorus and potassium, right? Well, the two biggest world suppliers after Canada of potash is Russia and Belarus. And I don't think that supply is going to be coming back for quite some time. So now we are in a potassium fertilizer shortage, which is not good when it comes to growing food. And finally, the Chinese have been having a really rough time as well with their food supply chains, and so they've basically locked down all of their phosphorus production. So that's causing a phosphorus shortage of fertilizer, which we also need to grow food. Now, why am I saying this? Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because basically the fertilizer shortage is so bad in the world these days that I can't in good conscience, especially when it comes to using phosphorus and potassium fertilizer, in good conscience do that. Because yeah, I want my grass to look nice and all, but there's going to be massive food shortages this year and probably next year, and I'd rather not have the demand going to my lawn. I'd rather that fertilizer be going to grow food so people do not starve, especially in places like Africa, the Middle East, East Asia, I mean, it's going to be bad. And so that's why I just wanted to bring up that topic is, do your do your soil analysis. But if you can help it, maybe try and cut back this year, because that fertilizer is going to be needed elsewhere. Now, I will say I am going to be using fertilizer that I bought last year. It's not like I'm going to ship that off to Ukraine so that the farmers can grow food. That, the logistics of that just don't make sense, and it's not worth the time and effort. All I'm just saying is maybe try not to create new demand this year with fertilizer, so that so that the demand can go to people trying to grow food instead of just trying to make their lawns a little bit better. And so that's just something to think about. That's something to ponder as we go through this year. And that's what I'll be doing. So with that said, you guys take it easy. Have a good one. Sorry it took me so long to make some content, but I'm glad I'm getting back into it. You have a good day, and I'll see you later.